Good morning, students. Good morning, students. Can you hear me? I'll begin in a minute. Please hold on. Okay, 31 of you have joined. Okay, dear students, today we will be discussing the last topic in this chapter, that is acceleration principle or accelerator theory of investment. Okay, acceleration principle or accelerator theory of investment. This we are going to discuss today. In the last class, students, Yes, students, can you hear me? Okay, so I took the recap of what we did in the last class. So let us begin with the topic, that is accelerator theory of investment or acceleration principle of investment. So let us begin with the topic, that is acceleration principle or accelerator theory of investment. Okay, multiplier, as we have seen, multiplier shows the effect of change in investment on income and employment, right? With the help of multiplier, what we calculate, we see the effect of investment on income and employment, right? As a result of increase in investment, income and employment changes, right? That is, we see in multiplier theory. Okay, whereas in accelerator shows the effect of a change in consumption on investment. When consumption changes, what impact it will have on investment. So in simple words, you can see simple relation here, that this C depends on investment. That means in the consumption is influenced by investment. How? When income increases, investment increases, income will increase, and as a result of increase in income, there will be change in consumption. Okay. But accelerator theory, what it says, that when this consumption changes, investment as a result of this changes. To meet the consumption demand, industry or the firms need to expand the capacity, needs to invest to meet the increased demand in the market, and that is known as accelerator principle or accelerator theory of investment, right? Invest as a consumption के increase होने की वजह से, when consumption increases, the industry, the companies try to meet the consumption demand, और उसके लिए क्या करना होगा उनको? The companies need to expand the capacity, they need to spend in the capital goods, right? So that will result into more investment in the economy, right? Yes, students? Okay, now moving on to the numerical value of accelerator. Accelerator is what? It is numerical value of the relation between increase in investment resulting from an increase in income or consumption. Consumption और income के increase होने के वजह से, बढ़ने के वजह से जो investment में change आता है उसको हम accelerator बोलते हैं, and the numerical value which we get, as a result of this relation, that is accelerator value. Or how that can be calculated, I'll show you with the help of example, or a formula is there. Let us see what is the formula and how it is calculated. Let us see. So if, say, you can see, I'll highlight here, if this YT is income in time period T time period, and T is the current period, say 2020. So YT output or income is required to be produced. इतना required है क्योंकि इतनी demand है market में. So this, for producing this YT amount of output, this V, you can see this V is the capital output ratio. V is capital output ratio. Means to produce certain amount of output, how much of capital is needed, how many units of capital is needed to produce 1 unit of output. That is in fact capital output ratio. This value of B is determined, right? So the required amount of capital to produce YT amount of output can be calculated with this formula. You see, KT is what? The capital stock in time period T. कितनी machinery है, equipment है in time period T, which is a current time period, and V is the capital output ratio. So capital output ratio multiplied by amount of output, you will get the value of KT. So let us assume this is our first equation. This is our first equation. If this V, which is capital output ratio, that is K upon Y, is assumed as constant, इसको हम मान लेते हैं कि ये कांस्टेंट है. क्या होता है एक्चुअली, say you want to produce 1 unit of output, 1 unit के लिए यूजुअली आपको 3-4 ज़्यादा यूनिट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट और कैपिटल इज नीडेड, राइट, मे बी 3 or 4, right? So whatever ratio it is, whether it is 3/1 or 4/1, we are assuming that this is constant, 4/1 or 3/1, right? That is K by Y. 1 unit of output to be produced. So to produce 1 unit of output, you need 3 unit of capital. To produce, say if you are assuming this one, to produce 1 unit of output, you need to have investment worth 4 unit of capital. So assuming this V, that is capital output ratio, as constant, change in output are made possible by changes in the stock of capital. अगर ये वाला वैल्यू कांस्टेंट मान लेते हैं, ठीक है, तो वाई टी में चेंज कैसे आएगा? इफ देयर इज चेंज इन वैल्यू ऑफ के, स्टॉक ऑफ कैपिटल. दिस के टी इज स्टॉक ऑफ कैपिटल, राइट? सो दिस इज आवर फर्स्ट इक्वेशन. Yes students, is this fine? ठीक है. See if you are getting it or not, please let me know so that I'll okay. So in time period t, this is the equation you will have. Similarly, you see what happens when income, that is yt, so this equation we have already written, that kt is equal to this equation number first. I have repeated it again. So when output or income is equal to yt minus 1, which means if t is 2020, okay, so t minus 1 will be this 2020 minus 1 is nothing but 2019. 1 year before we are talking about. तो 1 year before क्या कैपिटल स्टॉक था और अभी कितना है, या 1 year before कितनी डिमांड थी, कितनी आउटपुट रिक्वायर्ड थी, YT रिक्वायर्ड थी करंट पीरियड में, और 1 year बिफोर में YT माइनस 1 थी. तो रिक्वायर्ड कैपिटल YT माइनस 1 के लिए सिमिलरली यू विल हैव KT minus 1. That means in 2019 how much was the capital stock? Since this V, that is capital output ratio, we have assumed as constant, right? So whatever this KT minus 1 was there, that was sufficient to produce this YT minus 1, because this is 2019 output, right? So for current period your capital stock is KT. For previous year capital stock was KT minus 1. तो इन दोनों का अगर डिफरेंस ले लेंगे तो कितना चेंज हुआ कैपिटल स्टॉक में, that we can easily make out, right? So the same thing I have done here in this equation. From equation first and 2 you can find out change in capital stock over time period. This t minus 1, t, as we have assumed, t is the current period and t minus 1 is the previous period, right? So this t minus 1 will give is nothing but investment. You see, this t minus kt minus 1 is investment in time period t. ठीक है? And you see this, we have taken just two equation, equalized two equation, kt minus 1. So this part will come here, as you can see, vyt minus this term I have deducted, vyt minus 1, right? So as you have seen, kt minus 1 is nothing but investment in time period t. Okay, so this investment will depend on this whole term. You see, this whole term will give you investment, value of investment, where this V is capital output ratio and YT minus 1 is nothing but the change in the output over this 1 year period, over this time period. So how much of output is required to be produced, on that basis investment will take place. Why? You need to produce something, you need to create capacity, right? So that's what acceleration principle says, that to meet or to produce certain amount of output, or if this YT is demand or the consumption, that output, whatever output is required, because output is planned on the basis of demand or the consumption. If there is greater demand, greater consumption, and when there will be greater consumption, when there is more income. So this YT value, that is output for time period T, and YT minus is the previous year output. Difference of this will give you the required amount of output needed to meet the current demand. So to meet this current demand, you need to invest certain proportion of this V times, because V is the capital output ratio, right? The amount of capital needed to produce 1 unit of output, that is V, capital output ratio. So in that way, investment becomes function of change in income or change in consumption, right? So income and consumption changes the level of investment. It becomes an indicator for the investors. If there is more demand, more consumption in the economy, the investors are prompted to invest more. Okay? Yes, students? Okay, fine. Now moving forward, so let us see this the value, how this changes and what impact it will have if, you see, if income YT, this YT current income is greater than previous income or previous output, if current output is greater than previous output, then the investment will be positive, right? Current income output agar zyada hai, that means required output in the current time period is more than the previous year, which means there is positive investment in the economy. Contrary to this, if current output is less than the previous output, investment will be negative, right? Investment negative हो जाएगा अगर करंट पीरियड का जो आउटपुट है वो प्रीवियस ईयर के मुकाबले में अगर कम है तो, राइट? इसका मतलब कि इन्वेस्टमेंट जो है वो घट गया है, नेगेटिव में गया है. देयर इज इन डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट रादर. ओके, एंड इफ करंट आउटपुट is equal to the previous output, that means there is neutral investment, zero investment, there is no new investment in the economy, right? So these three important aspect is there, important conclusion on the basis of change in output or change in income level is shown here with the help of these three inequalities, or lastly this equality sign, that is yt is equal to yt minus 1. Now we will try to understand this with the help of the numerical example. Okay, please let me know whether how many of you are interacting, how much is fine or not? Yes. Altamash, Neha, Farheen, Saurabh, Asmita, Jyoti, Shravani, Rubanas. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we will see the numerical example on the basis of this working of accelerator. So here, first of all, you just see we have some assumptions here. First assumption is the capital output ratio, that is COR जो है, that is constant, वो change नहीं हो रहा. मतलब जितने unit of capital चाहिए आपको 1 unit of output produce करने के लिए, वो fix रहता है. That means in one way you can say that we are assuming technology is not changing, right? Technology is same. That's what the meaning of this statement is. Capital output ratio remains same. When technology changes, capital output ratio is bound to change. So here we are assuming it is not changing, and suppose this COR is 3, right? Means to produce 1 unit of output you need 3 unit of capital. That is the assumption. Now, and further we are assuming that there is depreciation equal to 20%. 1/5 of capital equipment or machinery needs to be replaced every year. That is our assumption, 20% of it. So keep this thing in mind, 3 and 20%. Now let us see this numerical example. I think you can see this table is visible to you, students. Working of acceleration principle. Working of acceleration principle is shown in this table. Let us first see. This first column tells you about the time period t-1, that is previous year. Say this is 2019, so this will be 2020, the current period, and so on. It will go on. So first column is your timeline, time period, and the second column is your output or income, okay, and third column is your required stock of capital. कितने stock of capital needed होंगे to produce this much of output. And the fourth column, this fourth one is capital replacement, right? That is consumption of capital replacement, or you can call it depreciation. Okay, and the second last column you can see, that is net investment, and the last column is your gross investment. So let us see in the time period t-1, this t-1, that is 2019, in our example the output is 500 crore, say needed, worth 500 crore. So assuming that capital output ratio, what we have assumed? We have assumed 3. So 500 multiplied by 3 is 1500 crore. So capital required to produce this much of output 1500, and we have assumed 20% of this depreciation, so this is 300. So net investment in this time is 0, whereas gross is 300. We know that gross minus depreciation is net, so that's why this net value is 0 in this time period. Okay, similarly you go to the next timeline, that is 2020. How much of the output required? 510, or output required is 510 crore. So your capital output, capital required, capital stock of capital will be 1530, 3 times of, because our capital output ratio assumed is 3, right? In every case it will be 3, so it is 1530. Again 20% of capital replacement, fine. So this is our 300 capital replacement, Net investment, you see how much of net investment in this case? See the difference, 1530, 1500. So 30 is the net investment, and gross investment will be net investment plus this depreciation amount, 300 plus 30, so 330, right? This is how you will get the value of gross investment in this time period. Then moving on to this timeline, T plus 1, amount of output 525 crore. So multiplied by 3, you will get 1575, okay? And this, your capital replacement is 20% of the capital. So that will be this 306 crore. This value of this you find. 20% of this previous period. This is current. So 306, and your net investment will be 45, 1575 minus 1530. Net that, then you will get the change in this to KT, T minus 1, you will get the net investment, that is 45. So this 45 plus 306, add up this value, you will get the gross. So you need to add up these two, this and this, you will get this value, right? So this way you can see, similarly in time period T plus 2, it is 550, 3 times of this 1650, capital replacement, 20% of this value 1575, that is 315 crore, and the change in investment, this time period, you see how much of change is occurring, right? This is 75, so that is net investment, and 75 plus 315, you will get 390. So this way you see the acceleration principle tells us as the amount of this output keep on increasing, a required amount of output, you see 1550, 75, 75. Now again you can see there is, from here up to here there is increase, right? It is from 500 to, it has gone up to 7575, but after this you can see it is declining. Your this output or the demand in the market, consumption, that has gone down, it is going down. As the consumption started going down from this T4 onward, after that T5 onwards, you see the required amount of capital, that means investment needed, investment required, is started falling down, you see, continuously it falling down. Similarly this also started declining, your capital replacement, and your net investment, you can see it is continuously falling, it is negative, right? And at this point your gross investment is even nil, right? So this is how you can explain the working of acceleration principle with the help of this example. 1650, which value you are saying? 1650, it is 330. No, what? See, that's what the Roshni, you see, you are mistaken. This will not be 350. 315 of this previous amount. After 1 year only the replacement will occur. Capital needs to be replaced over time period. So every time you see, this 300 is of previous year, assuming that previous year was 1500 only, and this one is this 300 for this 1500, 306 for 1530, 315 is for 1575, 330 is for 1650. You are saying, right, this is 330, you can see here it is 330 only, Okay. Is this fine? Yes, Roshni, t plus 2. That's what I am telling, na? 3, it is. ठीक है ना? Yes. एक प्रीवियस T2 का ही है ना, तो आगे आ गया वो रिप्लेसमेंट वैल्यू 330. Yes. Okay. So this way, we do the calculation or working of acceleration principle, right? Now, okay, no problem, dear. So, is there any question related to this table how you can calculate? This also you should keep in mind. This gross value is addition of these two columns. This column number 4 and 5 will give you, so 4 plus 5 is equal to this sixth one. This 4 plus 5 is the equal to sixth column. Okay. And this value you are taking of previous year, like this way, right? Okay. Now moving on to the next slide quickly. I hope that there is no question now. So now the criticism of accelerator principle. See, the acceleration principle says that capital output ratio, that is K, this capital output ratio, the COR, or what is COR? COR is V, you can see. This V is your COR. Here you can see this V is only COR, and this is your X value of accelerator, right? So this is assumed as constant throughout the trade cycle, throughout the timeline. That is the assumption. But Kaldor, an economist, say that if already some machines are lying idle, पहले से मशीनरी इक्विपमेंट जो लगाया है कंपनी वालों ने, अगर वो ही फुल्ली यूटिलाइज नहीं हो, तो फर्म्स फर्स्ट try to use that unutilized machinery rather than investing the new fresh equipment. They will not put their money into new equipment. They will try to meet the demand. They will try to produce the required amount of output with the available machinery if machineries are lying idle, right? So that's what they have assumed, that there is a constant value of accelerator, machines are lying not lying idle, so you need extra, every time you need extra machinery and equipment to produce more. So there is in fact usually extra capacity available, right? So next is no excess capacity existing in consumer goods industry, right? कंज्यूमर गुड्स इंडस्ट्री के अंदर जो है वो एक्स्ट्रा कैपेसिटी अवेलेबल है टू मीट द डिमांड. ऐसा इनका मानना है कि कोई एक्स्ट्रा कैपेसिटी नहीं रहता है ना एक्सेलरेटर प्रिंसिपल में. इसलिए टू मीट द इंक्रीज्ड डिमांड मोर इन्वेस्टमेंट टेक प्लेस, which may not be true. Okay. Next is if increase in income or output is only a temporary one, मतलब डिमांड में जो इंक्रीज आया वो टेम्पररी है, आउटपुट नीडेड इज टेम्पररी, देन द इन्वेस्टर्स, द कंपनीज, द फर्म्स विल नॉट डू द न्यू इन्वेस्टमेंट इमीडिएटली. और नया इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं होगा ऐसी सूरत में अगर जो है इनकम एंड आउटपुट रिक्वायर्ड जो चेंज आया है वो दैट इज टेम्पररी, राइट? तो इमीडिएट में इन्वेस्टर्स जो है इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर देते, पैसे नहीं लगा देते अपना. ठीक है, दिस इज अनदर क्रिटिसिज्म. देन फोर्थ वन इज इफ देयर इज नो एक्सेस कैपेसिटी इन मशीन मेकिंग इंडस्ट्री। यहाँ पे आपको मशीनरी की बात की जा रही है कि आइडल मशीनरी नहीं है, एक्सेलरेटर का वैल्यू कांस्टेंट मान लिया आपने, ठीक है, लेकिन यहाँ पे बात हो रही है नो एक्सेस कैपेसिटी इन मशीन मेकिंग इंडस्ट्री। जो इन्वेस्टर्स इन्वेस्ट करते हैं इक्विपमेंट में, मशीन्स में, उनको वो मशीन भी तो बननी चाहिए ना। तो वो उन मशीन मेकिंग इंडस्ट्रीज में अगर एक्सेस कैपेसिटी नहीं है टू मीट द इंक्रीज्ड डिमांड फॉर मशीनरी एंड इक्विपमेंट to meet the new investment, then the investment cannot increase in the short run. Suppose tractors की ज़रूरत ज़्यादा हो गई, लेथ मशीन की ज़्यादा हो गई, say for example, या असेंबली लाइन की ज़रूरत ज़्यादा हो गई, है ना, मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट जो टेस्टिंग वगैरह के लिए लगते उसकी ज़्यादा हो गई, R&D के लिए चाहिए, उनकी डिमांड बढ़ गई। लेकिन जो कंपनीज वो मशीनें बनाती हैं, इक्विपमेंट बनाते, वहां पे अगर एक्सेस कैपेसिटी नहीं हो तो शॉर्ट टर्म में इन्वेस्टमेंट इंक्रीज नहीं हो पाएगा, वो डिले हो जाएगा, राइट। एंड इन दैट केस एक्सेलरेटर विल नॉट वर्क दैट वे, ओके, इमीडिएट इन्वेस्टमेंट विल नॉट टेक प्लेस। सो दिस इज द fourth criticism of acceleration principle. Then size of accelerator does not remain constant over time. It keeps on changing depend on technology, right? If technology changes, the capital output ratio may change, accelerator value of accelerator may change, right? So these are some of the important criticism labeled against the accelerator principle. And dear students, we know that these are some of the limitations based on the assumptions of accelerator principle, but इतने सारे लिमिटेशन होने के बावजूद भी एक्सेलरेटर प्रिंसिपल को अप्लाई किया जाता है टू अंडरस्टैंड दी फ्लक्चुएशंस इन मार्केट। अप्स एंड डाउन होते हैं इकोनॉमी के अंदर, क्यों होते, उसकी क्या वजह है, ये एक्सेलरेटर प्रिंसिपल हेल्प अस इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग द ट्रेड साइकिल एंड बिजनेस साइकिल इन द इकोनॉमी, right? Economists like Samuelson, Hicks and Dusenberry has combined accelerator and multiplier, that is known as interaction of acceleration and multiplier principle to explain the business cycle, ठीक है। सैमुअल्सन ने, हिक्स ने जो है दोनों को कंबाइन किया, जैसे इन्वेस्टमेंट के इंक्रीज होने की वजह से इनकम चेंज होता, कंजम्पशन चेंज होता, कंजम्पशन के चेंज होने की वजह से फर्दर इन्वेस्टमेंट चेंज होता। सो देयर इज अ क्लोज इंटरैक्शन बिटवीन इन्वेस्टमेंट, income, investment and consumption. So this is nothing but interaction of multiplier and accelerator theory, which can be studied by combining these two principles, right? मल्टीप्लायर अलोन जो है एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकता इसको सही से, एक्सेलरेटर सिर्फ एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकता। व्हेन सो दीज इकोनॉमिस्ट्स हैव क्लब्ड दीज टू थ्योरीज टू explain the ups and downs in the market, or it helps in explaining the business cycle in the economy, right? So these are the concluding remark on accelerator theory, okay? Yes students, if you have any question you can ask me, otherwise your see this chapter number 4 topics are completed. Now next class onwards I'll try to explain whatever topic you want me to repeat and explain it, that I'll be explaining. So up to 4 we have done. We will take the revision of the chapters as per your demand, okay? So students, I hope that it is clear now to every one of you. Yes, Okay, thank you so much, students. Then we'll meet tomorrow with a new topic. Just message me what topic you want me to discuss tomorrow. I'll be discussing that. Okay, thank you so much.